3:30 in the morning. Just waiting for Ryan to come pick me up. In a second, when I get a text message that says we need a second cooler.
After Ryan picked me up, we headed up to St. Paul to grab Devin. We had a 60% chance of rain on Thursday, and the rest of the weekend looked awesome. Our second stop was Duluth, and it was about 2.5 hours away. We just wanted to grab some dry ice quick. Praxar opened at 7 a.m., so we stopped and picked up our dry ice. Their address is 4105 West Superior Street in Duluth. From there, we headed up to the Outfitters. The whole trip took about 6.5 hours long, and it went by really fast. We were all just really excited to get on the water at this point. For the second year in a row, we were outfitted through Way of the Wilderness. We loaded up with a quick meal before our long trip ahead and took a look at our route along the Granite River. We chose to get dropped off in Magnetic Lake by one of the trucks and then get picked up in Sag Falls by one of the towboats. We read the route was supposed to take 3 to 5 days at a normal pace. Seagull Outfitters website is a great resource for all the different routes in the area. So after breakfast, we went to check out the canoes. We weren't sure if we wanted a 3-person canoe or a 2-person and a 1-person, but we ended up deciding on the 3-person. After breakfast, we went back down the Gunflint Trail to meet the outfitter at the entry point with the canoe, but we got a little lost and we ended up down here. Unfortunately, that's not the only time we get lost in this trip. That Devin decided to haul along an extra 10 pounds of water needlessly. I think it's hilarious. And then he brought like his whole living room right here under this, which he's trying to hide from us, I think, because it's ridiculous. It's like the largest pack ever, but he's gonna carry it, so it's his call.
Awesome, guys.
Good thing we didn't go right there.
Yeah, we're almost to the river. We got wind at our back. Let's go. Okay, so stay left. Stay left. Careful, Connor.
Alright, we're good.
This is scary. It's gonna be a miracle if we don't tip.
So we're at the second portage. First portage, no problem with the canoe. Second portage, not so much. So that first area that we had gone through was actually not a portage, it was just kind of shallow. The second portage that we went through was 18 rods long, wasn't too bad, and then right after that we fished for a little bit. I don't want to take that thing off.
We probably don't have a player too.
I do, but that thing is all up in it. Yeah, I know.
Like a beer can or something? Spray painted?
I have no idea. Here's an up-close look at that marker in the ground. You're going to see these marks between US and Canada basically labeling the international boundary line. These markers actually define the largest international border in the world, and it started as an agreement between British and the newly formed United States.
Head on the left. Head on the left.
Okay, we gotta go straight ahead right there. That second portage is actually pretty tough and it's hard to see. I think it was 47 rods long. You're just really gonna have to look out for it. There's 2 big boulders that are basically define the path. But after that, we headed out to the campsite and set up shop for the night. Did you buy that? Remember, I had a full body mosquito suit, and I left it at home. Now I wish I never brought it.
your tent. Don't catch your tent.
Make this batch strong.
One here. So we're right here right now. We'd have one here. We would either do this one or that one. So that's 2, 3, 4, and then stay somewhere in here. 72 rods.
Fuck, we're gonna get our ass kicked today. I don't know, I'm gonna be optimistic and think it's gonna be a lot easier than yesterday.
I'm actually thinking it is.
Okay.
Alright, just balance it.
Okay.
This was a pivotal point, so we're going to backtrack a bit and explain what just happened. Do you remember this morning when Ryan explained our route and how many portages we had to go through? On that first day, we thought we went through 3 portages and camped here, but in actuality, we went through a shallow area, 2 portages, and ended up camping here. We spent the entire day thinking we were up here when we were actually down here, and that journey begins now.
I think you're better off going bare feet through this. How's it right there? Ah! I can't even move through this. This is a terrible idea of me. Alright. Shoes are coming off. Alright.
At this point, we're starting to get frustrated because we're looking for the swamp portage up here, but we don't even realize that we're actually down here and there's no portage whatsoever.
Ryan, what the f are you doing? Will you come back here? Should we paddle over there? Me and Connor figured it out. Seriously, Ryan, let's go. Please come back here.
Ryan ventured off on his own to look for the portage, but we really think he just stopped to take a nap. 45 minutes later, here he is.
I started walking, you know that trail that you went back in? I walked further back there and there's a bunch of down trees and I'm like, it was like walking over that tree. I felt like it was gonna suck, so then I started walking around the trail. I'm like, this is gonna be miserable.
How yesterday was tough.
No.
Yesterday was nothing.
Way worse.
This is supposed to be water. We're in the middle of our route. That was only like 900 rods.
Squirrel. Not down on the ground, that's what's squeaking. They are noisy. They're like the size, half the size of a regular squirrel, but they make enough noise to sound like a deer crashing through the woods when you're in your deer stand.
Okay, gotta take it slow here. Alright. They get a little bit courageous it looks like.
I wonder if somebody tried to go down it and then it just cracked. Like,
That's what I'm thinking.
And then what are you gonna do? That thing's like impossible to get out of here. See, it's obviously dried up, but some of the YouTube videos that we've seen, this is probably the spot where they're cruising through in their kayaks. So we obviously gotta go around with this. The canoe flipped when he pulled my pack out. Devin's legs are taking a beating. What kind of duck is that?
McGanzer.
Oh.
fuck you, body walkers. Fuck you.
So we're facing straight west right now, right?
That's west. Right towards the sun. This is north.
We were so lost at this point, we thought we were up here facing northwest, but we were actually down here facing straight west. We saw a campsite on the way in, so we decided to turn around and stay there. We thought we were up here seeing a Canadian campsite. We didn't actually figure out the truth until tomorrow.
Got him. Huge. Holy shit.
Oh, nice work, Connor. That's ass.
Leaving our gear behind, we walked through this portage to investigate, and that was when Ryan had a light bulb moment. He pulled his phone out of his pocket and used his GPS. The Boundary Waters map area was already downloaded because we used his phone for driving directions. Now that we had our bearings, we went back through this portage and headed north, where we ran into a couple other campers. Jim and Dave were a welcome sight. They were locals to the area, and they said they couldn't believe that we traveled the route we have. They said nobody's ever done that, and that we should get a medal. These guys started their trip that morning, took the portage we missed, and it only took them 3 hours to get to their campsite. After giving us a pep talk, they sent us on our way and encouraged us to go down that next set of rapids.
That was awesome. It is. We had to watch you guys see how you did it just to make sure we had the right plan. We still almost tipped it though.
Okay.
That's not bad at all.
Nice job, man.
If nobody's holding on the front and back. Okay, where's that root beer schnapps?
We were making great progress at this point. We went through that first set of rapids, then the swamp portage, and then we had 2 sets of rapids coming up.
We got this. This looks pretty easy. There's big rock to the left, it looks like up here. Big rock to the right. You got a paddle for me to steer you guys. You got a paddle forward. Don't push that way. You're gonna turn us around. We need you to paddle with us at the same time on the right side. Are we moving? We're almost over it.
After a close call on the rapids, we curved around to the west before finding our campsite. For dinner, Devin made us a hearty pot roast, and then we fished for a while.
Is it gone? It broke your line? Holy shit.
I tried to give it a good launch and I go, I don't feel it. Sorry, Connor. I know you too.
How's your bath? Did you go into this trip knowing that you were going to burn in these jeans?
Yes. They actually helped install windows too.
Jeez. I feel like you should have framed
I
them.
think I can take both. They're still salvageable. I'm pretty sure they looked like that the other night after I tried to dry them off on the fire.
Our plan was to meet the outfitter in Sag Falls at noon for a tow. So for breakfast, we kept it simple, made a cup of coffee, and got on the river at 8 a.m. That first portage looked a little sketchy, so we decided to skip it and take our chances on the narrow part of the river, which was a good choice because it was pretty easy. From there, we had a 3 or 4 mile stretch before we hit Horsetail Rapids. Horsetail Rapids was a little bit too much for us to handle, so we decided to take the portage, but unfortunately the portage wasn't much easier. Our last leg was about 3/4 of a mile before our final portage in Sag Falls.
I see some fiberglass right there from other canoes. Right here on that rock. But we thought we were here, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it really screwed us up.
Yep.
For some reason, we were here, but we thought we were here. So then we...
And remember that little rock pile or whatever that was right here?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we should have gone through and come out, hopefully.
So instead, we went up here, and then this is where we started seeing rocks. It was like right here at this turn, right?
Yeah.
And then we were just like, oh, screw it. We just kept going. And it was like basically rocks all up until here. So it was all rocks, and it took us an entire day to do this stretch.
Yep.
So we were basically walking through rocks the whole time.
Nice day, huh?
Thank you for getting it go.
The tow picked us up in Sag Falls, and then we took a 45-minute trip back to the outfitter.
I think this is what Devin was rocking out to on the way back.
Yeah, because it's a CD.
Yeah.
He was rocking out to this.
Let's see what the
Previous song was? This is what you were rocking out to the first day, Devin?
Yep. This one.
And I want you here with me from tonight.